Welcome. Thank you for joining us for our online artist talk with Angela Pilgrim, the fourth in our Black Women of Print speaker series, an organization whose mission is to make visible the narratives and work of Black women printmakers, past, present, and future. I'm Sarah Kirk Hanley, Executive Director of Manhattan Graphic Center. Our events are made possible by grants from the New York City Department of Cultural Affairs, the New York State Council on the Arts, the Pierre and Tana Matisse Foundation, and our supporters. Thank you. MGC's online artist talks under COVID-19 are made possible with funds from the NISCA Electronic Media Film in partnership with Wave Farm Media Arts Assistance Fund, with the support of Governor Andrew Cuomo and the New York State Legislature. This evening, we are delighted to welcome Angela Pilgrim. She is a New Jersey-based printmaker, teacher, and founder of Fruishun and Fruishun Press Studio. Her practice incorporates screen printing, risography, and textile printing. Pilgrim's primary subject matter is Black beauty, womanhood, and how Black women are perceived. Using patterns, bold, complementary colors, and illustration, she expresses the powerful identity of women across the African diaspora. Pilgrim's work has been exhibited at Samford University, Jacksonville State University, the Petrucci Family Foundation, Collection of African American Art, and Frontline Arts. It is also included in many private collections nationally and internationally. Her work has been featured in publications such as Pressing Matters, which we hope to share with you later, and 7 Inches for Planned Parenthood. A few notes about tonight's event. We have disabled chat for this webinar to allow full enjoyment of the images on your screen. Please type any questions you have for the artist in the Q&A function, which you will find at the bottom of your screen. We'll answer any detailed questions about the work during the presentation or in a typed response. General or philosophical questions will be addressed during the open discussion following Pilgrim's presentation. And now, please welcome Angela Pilgrim.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out this evening for this webinar. I am going to get into it. So let me share my screen. Okay, my name is Angela Pilgrim, and I'm a printmaker from Newark, New Jersey. Here I am in my studio, Fruishun Press Studio, located in Newark, New Jersey. So how I started my printmaking career was kind of an organic and weird kind of way. Back in 2015, I applied for a printers in residence program with the Newark Print Shop, and I didn't know if I was going to get it. I knew nothing about printmaking at all. So when I did apply for it, I was thoroughly excited, and I was ready to roll up my sleeves and really get into it. So when I first started my journey, one of my biggest things that I wanted to do was, I was kind of in that weird space of figuring out what I wanted to say with my art. I needed something that spoke to something that was important to me, and what was important to me at that time was identity and how I saw identity within myself and just around me. You'll see a lot in my work. I have a lot of images of Black women, because in a lot of ways, I like to think that they're a self-portrait of myself, even though it's not specifically me. So when I was back at the Newark Print Shop, I would spend maybe roughly 10 to 15 hours in the shop alone, because I just wanted to learn everything that I needed to know about this. So this piece right here is called Hue Means Color. It's a screen print on paper. It's 11 by 18 inches and it's 8 colors. And it was really it was just for me to kind of like challenge myself with not just screen printing and just, you know, going in there and doing one color. Of course, I've done that, but I said I have to take it up the notch. So I learned registration from Stephen McKenzie, who was the master printer there at the space. And I had so much fun with it and I felt so accomplished. And it was at a maybe, I guess, kind of like a weird time in my life. So it was really inspirational for me. This piece right here is called Sakia, or in parentheses, Kia. It's a screen print on paper with mixed media. It's 9 inches by 11 inches and it's 5 colors. So actually the name for Zakia means purity, it means regalness. So I wanted to kind of speak to that name. So I chose colors like purple, which is like a royal color. And at that time, when in my printmaking career, I was still also learning, but I continued to kind of challenge myself in the medium. Again, I spent probably, I want to say about 10 hours in the shop for this one. So it was a big accomplishment for me because I just felt like I was throwing myself into something that was just, you know, bigger than myself. This piece right here is called Hush, Don't Touch. It's actually a detailed shot of it. In the next slide, I'll show you the full scale of it. But it's a screen print on paper. It's 9 inches by 11, it's 4 colors. So I started looking up Black hair ads at the time because I wanted to speak to that, that subject of identity and how it was perceived in the Black community. My mom always had, you know, some magazines like laying around, hair magazines. I would go to the hair salon and I would see these women who were happy in magazines. And I just kind of went back to those experiences that I've had in my life. And I wanted to articulate that in my work. This was actually created at the North Print Shop around the time that I was exploring printmaking in the beginning. And again, I wanted to kind of challenge myself and just pretty much continue that subject. This piece right here is courtesy of the collector Andrea Pippin. So she actually featured this in her Skillshare program or Skillshare video that she had. She's also an illustrator. And you can see you have the Hush, Don't Touch in the corner, and you have just those little snippets from those Black hair ads that you would see in those magazines. So I was still exploring Black identity and how hair was also sculptural in its own sense. So I wanted to show images of women with these sculptural hair that was like in terms of like afros and things of that nature. And this was actually on fabric and it was included in a show that I'll explain a little bit more towards the end. But this was on fabric. So I went down to Halsey Fabric, which is in Newark, and I said, okay, well, if I'm going to challenge myself, I need to kind of jump all in. So I started printing on cotton fabric, and I really loved it a lot because I love the movement of it as well. And how that kind of played with the images as well. It kind of made it kind of animated in its own sense. And that was something that I was really interested in exploring as well. And And if you see here, you'll see these little Cantu jars. This is a leave-in conditioner for Black hair. So oftentimes, you know, when you're doing your hair, you would make sure that you put a leave-in conditioner to keep it soft and things like that. So I kind of wanted to speak to those hair jars that we used to use when we were children, and when I used to use it. So I included that there. This is me praying over the piece, I guess. I don't know. I started exploring a little bit more in a hair series where I kind of wanted to speak towards that whole traditional of using these Black products that we grew up on. The Softy Mango Butter is kind of like a pomade that you would put in your hair to like basically grease your scalp or to make it oils, because our hair tends to get like pretty dry. So I wanted to speak towards those different hair dryers we used to use and how that kind of contributed to Black identity and what we know of Black identity in terms of hair. This piece is Afro Puff 1. It's a screen print on cotton fabric. It's 9 by 11 inches and it's 4 colors. And I wanted to, again, challenge myself with just working on fabric. So this is one piece of the series. And here's another one. It's Afro Puff 2. It's also a screen print on cotton fabric, 4 colors. And this is actually another hair jar that we used to use growing up called Blue Magic. And it's a hair dress or a hair grease that we use. So I wanted to kind of emulate how regal and how important the crown of Black women's hair was, and how sometimes we aren't taught about what is beautiful about our hair. And I kind of wanted to speak towards, you know, the regalness that comes from it. You know, the crown is very important to us in the Black community. So I wanted to speak towards that.
Angela, can you, is that what the floral motif is meant to do? Or what, can you talk more about like the patterning and your use of different colors here?
Yes, so I was exploring a lot of textiles at the time when I was at the North Print shop, and just repeat of patterns. So like you saw in the past class slide, you'll see that I used, you know, my way of patterning, making a pattern of the images on the fabric that spoke to a repetition of what we would use growing up. So I kind of wanted to kind of expand on that. I was also studying color theory and how color looked on different fabrics. And I'm really big into color and how color looks together complementary. So I wanted to make sure that I was staying within the realms of exploring that and making sure that, again, like the purple here is, you know, showing regalness and all of that. So does that answer the question?
Yeah, I mean, just when you said a crown, I think what you mean is more of a metaphorical crown. But then I saw the flowers, and I thought, well, that's sort of like echoing the idea of it. And I just wondered, at least for me, once I heard that word, I don't know if I'm reading too much into it or if that was a conscious decision.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, like around that time, I was, not only does the crown or the flowers really show a flower crown, but it's also an adornment of a crown, and how I was trying to, again, just articulate how important and repetitive we should know growing up how beautiful our hair is. And sometimes we don't get to hear that all the time. So a lot of people kind of, you know, struggle with that. I've struggled with that, so growing up. So the Printers in Residence 3 culminated in a group show with 2 of my studio mates here. It was a really great experience because I had 6 months in a print shop that I can do whatever I wanted. I can learn, and I just hit the ground running. And I was so proud of myself at that moment because I felt like it was kind of an unlock to a world of possibilities in printmaking, and just kind of making sure that I can articulate what I really wanted to say with my art. So I'm really proud of that accomplishment, and shout out to North Print Shop.
Was this, what year was this?
This was in 2000, ooh, is it 2015? I want to say 2015. Yes, I believe so. That's when I started. It's been so long, but it was such a pivotal year for myself because it was just like me just really challenging what I could do with my art form. Because at the time I was only doing illustration work, and that was just on paper. And it was like, wow, I can do something entirely different and challenge myself at the same time. Like, this is great. So shout out to them again. So through the North Print Shop, one part of my residency was to, we had open studio nights on Wednesdays. So it would be an open print shop for folks to come in and to work on their pieces. A lot of people came through to work on t-shirts and things of that nature. So it was my job, as well as my studio mates, to make sure that everybody was taken care of, everybody was doing, you know, just assisting them in the studio. And that was kind of like my paying back to having this residency and just having fulfill my studio hours. So I met a lot of great people. There's a lot of great entrepreneurs in Newark, and a lot of them I'm still talking with and friends with till today. So it was a really great experience for me, and it actually opened a door for something moving forward that I'll actually explain a little bit later.
Is screen print the primary technique that they offer, or were you gravitating toward it?
So I was gravitating towards screen printing more so. I wanted to take my time, especially in the studio. As much as I wanted to kind of jump into everything, I wanted to make sure that I was well equipped to handle that one method before I jumped into anything else. I mean, I've tried cyanotype. I haven't done any lino cuts or anything of that nature, but it was just something that I really just gravitated to because it was pretty much what I wanted to do and what I set out to do. Here are some more pictures of me and the shop where I was helping the community fulfill their artistic endeavors. Like I said before, a lot of people were entrepreneurs, or just, you know, they had like a, I guess like a thirst or a quench for, you know, making sure that they were, you know, I guess, I guess in some ways, like folks wanted to learn something like me. And that's why I kind of gravitated towards the open studio nights. And it really was something that was really special for me because I felt like everyone that came into the studio was me. And I wanted to make sure that everybody was being taken care of. So I was really excited to hit the ground running and, you know, help my community. So right here.
Community aspect of printmaking is always such a special thing, you know, characteristic of the medium. And it looks like a really good crowd that you had there with some good energy.
Yeah, it was a small space, so it got really packed on Wednesdays, and you know, I just saw it grew and grow in a lot of ways, and it was really, really important for me, and just like laying the foundation of what I knew I wanted to do later on in my career. So right here, I was actually with another studio mate, and we were live printing. So that was another aspect of that I was able to kind of tap into. So I was able to leave the studio and actually go out and, you know, meet more entrepreneurs and provide a service. So that was really great. I've also had opportunities to teach. And my teaching led me to New York with the Robert Blackburn Printmaking Center, Frontline Arts. I was mostly teaching textile printing. It was something that I was eager to learn as well. And a lot of my career is, I guess, having this knack for exploring. Whether I'm really great at it or not, I feel like that's just the wanderlust of printmaking in a lot of ways. Just kind of just diving in, and I felt like I was doing a good job. And again, I was able to meet so many beautiful people while I was teaching as well. It was a really great opportunity for myself in my career. So I knew this was something I kept wanting to do. So City Without Walls Gallery in Newark had a mentorship program with students from Newark Arts High School, and I was blessed to be able to be partnered with a mentee. And we had to create a few pieces for a show that we had together at City Without Walls Gallery. And this was her intro to printmaking. And she reminded me so much of myself, just eager to just jump in there. As you can see, I walked away and she's going.
Yeah, she looks like was she new to the technique?
Yeah, she was new, but it almost seemed like she knew exactly. She didn't really require so much direction because it was such a thirst to learn more. So it was a really beautiful experience. So we actually had a show together, and I wasn't the only one that was paired with her. There was a few artists in the city of Newark that was paired with different students. So we're gonna move on to my other works. So this is one of my newest works. It's Mama Taught Me. It's a screen print on paper. It's 6 colors. This is actually a portrait of my mom. I love this woman, just saying. But I wanted to kind of speak to her, not only a portrait of her, but just to speak to her faith and also to her strength. You'll see that she's also embraced her natural hair, which is something that, I feel like I was kind of speaking something for her. I was speaking a story for her. And the story was that, she may not have been empowered when she was younger to embrace her hair, but it was something that I wanted to share in my work. And she's also a very flamboyant mother. She loves getting dressed up, and again, you can see like the usage of patterns, and I think I really got that love from her as well. So it was really beautiful, and actually, I wanted to. She cries seeing this piece, just saying, but it was really.
Yeah, I think all those things you wanted to convey are here. She looks like a very powerful, strong woman, and her hair is quite beautiful. And I think it's the intensity of her gaze that really does it for me.
Yes, and just focus. So that's her. So this piece is Mama Love and Joy. It's a screen print on paper. It's 12 by 18 inches. It's 4 colors. This was made in my studio. This was actually made for a show called A Dream Deferred. And it just spoke to how can we express, or what would be the answer to any type of injustice in the world now, living in America. I wanted to convey with this piece was actually a portrait of me. I don't have any kids, but I want to say that this is it's kind of like a foreshadowing. And I just wanted to speak to how a mother's love is very special to a child, and how a mother can wonder how can she protect her child, and is that a dream that may not be fulfilled, Or, you know, is it you see so many injustices in the world now, and just to know that that is a common fear really speaks volumes to just your existence in the world as a Black person. And how I kind of flipped the dream deferred was that I wanted to speak to, will my opportunity to have a child be a dream deferred because of all the injustices?
Yeah, the emotion in that piece is really moving. I'm a mother, and I think even though you're not a mother, you nailed it there. It's you know, the tender relationship between a mother and child is not easy to convey, but you really I think it's quite powerful in this piece.
Thank you. So this piece is called Fruishun. I'll speak a little bit about my brand a little bit later on, but this was just an image that I wanted to create of two friends that modeled for me for my brand Fruishun. It spoke to empowerment of hair, how important it was in our community, and just how beautiful it was. So I wanted to kind of convey to them, you know, in my work that, you know, they are beautiful and they are powerful women. So this is a screen print on paper. It's 12 inches by 18 and it's 6 colors. And this was also made in my studio here in Newark. So a Wuma Violet, so it's interesting. I've always had these opportunities to collaborate in a lot of different ways, like just speaking about being in the studio and just being able to meet all these great people. I was actually blessed to meet a group of artists, specifically Fahmi Shakur. She is a writer here in Newark, New Jersey, and she asked me to be a part of this anthology book. It's a risograph book, and so she worked with 15 Newark-based female-identified writers, poets, and visual artists to create an art book oriented around both individualism and collective identity. Shakur and her collaborators present new perspectives on poetry. And I just wanted to share just a pivotal moment in me learning another technique. So I've always been in the realm of screen printing, but with this risograph book, it actually challenged me a little bit more. So I knew nothing about risograph or risography. So here's the book. The cover photo here is on the left and the inside of the book is on the right. So it's a 146 page limited edition risograph art book made here in Newark, New Jersey at Project for Empty Space. And it's a book of poems and things of that nature. So after we made the book, I had the opportunity to go back to Project for Empty Space in Newark and to learn a little bit more about risograph. And what I learned is that it was not too far from screen printing, especially when it comes to registering and I guess if you're working with like, it's like basically taking is it a negative or a positive? Here go this.
Maybe someone in the audience. I've never done it. Yeah.
Yeah, so you're taking your imagery and you're just basically color separating the layers. And, you know, the risograph works as a duplicator. So whatever you put through the printer is going to print this actual image. And then you just layer the color as you go up. And then in layering different colors, you can actually create new colors. It's kind of similar to CMYK in a way. So that was a really great experience as well.
Yeah, it's fun to see one in action. I have to admit, I've heard all about it, read all about it, but I've never really seen it being done. So this is fun.
Yeah, listen, before I had the opportunity, I knew nothing about it. So it was really a jump in there and just learn. I think I had like a 1-day tutorial and then I just kind of got it. So here is a few prints that I created. This was the one that actually made it to the book, as well as this one, I believe. Yes. So this is a sister's print. I'll go back here. And it's 2 images of 2 friends that actually, again, photographed for my brand Fruishun. And this is actually a brand photo from Fruishun as well.
So what's the difference between Fruishun as a brand and then your studio?
So Fruishun as a brand, and I was going to get to that a little bit later, but
Wait, that's fine. I don't want to break your stride. We can talk about it later.
that's okay. All right, let's see. So this is one of the prints that I did at Project for Empty Space. And again, it's just 2 images of 2 Black women that are hugging each other. I wanted to speak to sisterhood and just overall camaraderie that we would have like in the Black community. And it's something that really I felt like was dear to me, and it spoke a lot of it spoke really deep to, I guess, my core mission and making sure that whatever I do is very collaborative. So bringing these 2 people who I knew, who modeled in my brand, and putting them in that book was something kind of like a payment towards, I guess in a way, making them part of history in a way. So Fruishun was established in 2016. It was kind of a call to all of, so I was working at this print shop, and you know, I had so many people, whether it was on social media or just in person in the community, that was like, wow, I love these prints and I would wear this on the shirt. I would wear this place. I want to acquire this. So I felt so overwhelmed with joy that everyone was so eager to wear my work. But I said, okay, well, let me try my hand at, I'm helping all these people make, you know, t-shirts, and why don't I try it as well? And I came out with a line of hand printed shirts and head wraps and things of that nature. And it kind of spiraled into something bigger for myself. But I wanted to speak to showing, not only showing the images in my work, but also speaking to a brand that was so different from what I've seen before, and taking something that I knew how to do and just sharing it with the world. So here's just like a photo shoot that one of my friends that I had with one of my friends here. So one of the pieces that was so popular was my Frida Cara Georgia McAleen shirt, and it was just an ode to women creators. So it was a women's creators tee. Frida Kahlo, Kara Walker, Georgia O'Keeffe, and McAleen Thomas. And I was so blessed to be able to give actually a shirt to McAleen. And it was great to see them at an event, just, you know, her wife just wearing it. So it was a really great experience. That's really it for that one. Okay. So I expanded a little bit more because, again, you'll see a lot in this talk. I like to challenge myself. So I said, well, why don't I print on dresses? So I remember there was a little shop over here in Newark, and I said, okay, I'm just gonna just go and buy a few dresses, and there's just gonna be some one-offs. And it became so popular that I added it to the Fruishun site. So I took a lot of the images that I didn't use in my residency, or were, I guess, like a repeat of images that I was just exploring. And I just said, okay, I'm just gonna make these abstract pieces and wearable art on clothing and see how it goes.
We have a question from the audience that kind of ties into that if you would like, or I can wait until later. It's a little more philosophical, but about how you said you like to challenge yourself. Um, and the question is, what keeps you creative? What keeps your mind able to, come up with new ideas? And what are some of your biggest influences?
I would say that I guess I have an innate ability or a thirst for, I want to say it comes down to personality. I think that I've always been a person that wanted to, I thought bigger than myself. And like what I mentioned earlier in the slides, I'm always open to trying something new. And I think that's the beautiful thing about art and about creating. I think that if you don't do those things, then a lot of times, oftentimes I'll beat myself up about, not getting to something, right? And we all have those dry spells, but I think that one, seeing my peers, I was around a community that, and continuously now, like I'm around a community that is always creating. You're always seeing something, and that can be inspirational. When you have, I guess, a thirst for knowledge and learning and seeing what else is out there. A lot of times I don't like to look at too much about like what people are doing, but I do feel like that energy is kind of transferable in your work. Like you can feel that. I know one thing, there's an event, Open Doors here in Newark, where you kind of feel the energy in the air, and it's basically a space where all the art galleries and art spaces, they open their doors and you can have exhibitions and things of that nature. But I'm surrounded by a community of people I think that care about what I'm doing. And I think that lends a hand to it. And yeah, I hope that answers the question.
I think so. Thank you.
So you'll see here, I kind of expanded a little bit more. So I realized that Fruishun wasn't just something that I was creating these great pieces that, everyone liked, but it was something that, again, I wanted to challenge myself with, okay, what else can I do? How can I be a little bit different and kind of speak to that being not only exploring identity in a way of just being an individual, but what does Angela want to say or continue to say with her work? So I created these perm boxes that has, and I don't have a close-up of them here, but these perm boxes are a lot of times when we were growing up, we used to perm our hair, which means that we would straighten our hair. And it's kind of an extension of the work that I make and the hair and identity you see in my pieces. But on these boxes, it has affirmations. So it'll say something about loving your natural hair instead, and they're collectibles. So it was just a cool little project that I was doing with Fruishun, and I was making head wraps at the time as well. So I would package them in those boxes.
How do you sell your products through Fruishun?
So I have a website, buyfruishun.com, and that's where you can see all of the prints that I would be selling, t-shirts and head wraps and things of that nature. So that's where you'll be able to find it. Right now we're on a hiatus right now, so just letting you guys know. The last picture is Jennifer McWatkins. She's actually a founding member of Black Women in Print with me. And she's such a supportive sister. And I remember, I think she was walking through Whole Foods at the time, and I'm like, okay, I have these bags and I'm gonna put your name on it. So they were kind of like a foreshadowing of being a part of Black Women in Print, because at the time we weren't. But I wanted to create these American Apparel rendition bags that had these printmakers on it, and I included me and her on it because I didn't know that there were more Black, women that were printmaking. So it was kind of like a foreshadowing of where we are now, which is such a blessing. So Fruishun Press is my studio, located in North New Jersey. I have about 50 screens in my studio right now. This is where I create all of my work. I have my exposure unit here. I feel like in a lot of ways I was looking for, especially now, now that COVID hit, just having an outlet for being able to still create. And why pay studio prices when you have a whole studio in your home, or you can turn your living room into a studio, right? So this is a Fruishun Press, and I'm just here carving a rubber stamp here.
That's a rubber stamp, you said?
Rubber stamp, yes.
Okay.
So if you guys look at my social media, I like to, one of the things that I love to do is to educate. It's really important, I feel, to be able to, because I've had that experience of being able to learn something, and I feel like sharing that with others is so important, whether you're in a community or whether you can do it virtually. Right now, since COVID hit, I have been sharing little tips here on my social media page, on my Instagram page. So you'll see here, I just have like some big pieces that I was working on, et cetera here.
We have a question from the audience about your interest in teaching and whether you've ever thought about taking on a young group. This is from Drew Miles, a young group of women to help them grow passion for printmaking and art making.
Yeah, so that's one of my missions of, or one of my visions for Fruishun Press, is to be able to have people come by and to print with me, to learn from me, learn what I know. Please suck all the knowledge that I know out of me, and be able to create and to be able to I guess, like I said myself, like being able to have the opportunity and have that, unique opportunity to do something like that, I should be able to share it with the world. I have not specifically had too many folks, print with me, especially with COVID and everything. But I do have a family member who has been working with me in my studio. And that is my cousin Euphoria. So you'll see here. So yes, to answer your question, yes, I am interested in doing that in a later time. But I'll definitely share when I'll be able to do that in the future.
Yeah, I think we all know how challenging it is to, at least in person, teach these days, and everything's on hold with that. So
Yeah,
I imagine it has impacted your mission at Fruishun Press as well.
yes, and you hopefully it'll be able to change in the future. So we do have hopes for that, but I am very interested in expanding this to an actual bigger space as well, where I can hold more people and hold more classes and workshops. Right now, I would, gradually just do one-on-one or virtually. So again, I share a lot of my little snippets on my social media, little tips here and there.
And is that which handle? I know you have two handles for social media. So where's the one that you post these instructional videos?
So interchangeably through a Pilgrim, which I'll actually link. I linked at the end as well, and Fruishun Press. So I feel as though you kind of need to put it on both, because I am a working artist as well. So being able to tap into more people who would be able to see it as well. So. So, so in the summer, I decided to create this venture called Print and Playlist. And the reason I did it is because I am a complete lover of music as well. I have a lot of passions, and definitely music is one of them. And I wanted to kind of tie in music with printing. And I said, okay, well, you know, you are listening to listening to music while you're printing. So why don't you name it Print and Playlist? And I just started curating these different playlists that would speak to what I was working on at the time, where I was getting my inspiration from, whether it was jazz, whether it was hip hop, whether it was, you know, bossa nova or anything of that nature. So these playlists can actually be found on Apple Music. I think you can search it actually. So here I am working in my studio. You'll see I got my headphones on because you need music, of course. So this piece on the right is actually a bigger piece that I was working on in the summer. I believe it was 4 feet by, don't quote me. I have to.
Yeah, if that's a full-size roller, it must be quite large then. Yeah.
Yes. So again, motif is challenge. I just said, okay, well, COVID is such a challenge, but you know what? I'm going to challenge myself to work bigger, even though I may not have the space for it. So I did. I accomplished that because that's just who I am. And I created these pieces of Black women portraits in references actually that I found on the internet actually.
It looks like they're unique. And what are the techniques?
So I did a little bit of painting, but I did also screen print because I wanted to start with screen printing because I'm like, okay, well, I want to make sure that they're actually going to be screen prints. So I would take some of my screens and I would burn, let's say, burn them in, I guess, pieces of their body. Because at the time, I didn't have like a really, really big screen to just print in the space. And I think everybody knows when you're starting out, especially when you have a home studio, it can be a little bit challenging. You don't have a full-on studio. So I would break up the pieces in screens, and then I would print, did a little bit of painting, a little bit of collaging as well. And also a little bit of scrapping it all together and then coming back. So constructing.
Yeah, I can see some of the layers there.
Oops. Thank you. So that's all I have for you guys. I want to thank you so much. You can find me on the social handles right here and my website.
Great. Well, I'll give everyone a minute to write those down. And then we have a question from the audience, and I have a few questions. Please, if you have any questions for Angela, please type them into the Q&A function that you'll find at the bottom of your screen. So the question is from Dan Flounders, and it says, Salam, speaking of being a working artist and printer, how do you budget your prints and value them in price?
So I think about how much time that I've taken on a print, how many layers that I've printed. I try to think about materials, what I've used, how much the cost of that is. I think about the scale. So how big is it? So I kind of include those factors as well as kind of having a tiered model of, you know, what I would offer on, let's say as a working artist, but what I would offer on Fruishun, et cetera, et cetera. So what I would do is I would take all those things into account, and that's kind of how I kind of base my prints, especially with scale and materials.
Thanks. Next question is from Jennifer Mack Watkins, who is here with us tonight and was in some of your, and was our last speaker in the series and in some of your photographs. Can you, why is printmaking so important to you is her question.
So printmaking is important to me because I feel like it's something that, again, I want to say that it's something that I haven't fully explored it. And it's special because I feel like you're always exploring, or you're always finding something new about printmaking, whether it's, you know, registration, whether it's layering, whether it's, and I haven't really, I guess I want to say I haven't really explored the full extent of what I wanted to say in my work. And I feel like I'm still, I feel like I'm still learning in a lot of ways. So I don't want to say that I'm at the beginning, but I want to say that it's something that stuck with me because it continues to challenge me. And it's something that I haven't fully explored yet. And that's why I kind of love it. And it's kind of like I'm exploring myself in a cliche way in exploring this medium. And I want to, you know, expand on other printmaking methods as well.
Would you say it's become your primary technique now as an artist?
Yeah, I would say that it's a primary, it's something that I enjoy doing a lot. But again, I still want to explore a little bit more printmaking methods as well. So, but it's just something that I love to do. So it's something that I think gravitated towards me. So.
Great. The next question kind of ties into a question that I have here, which is about the mission of Fruishun Press Studio. Through advocacy, education, community workshops, and a professional workspace, Fruishun Press promotes visibility and collective growth of upcoming and advanced printmakers. So you talked a little bit about that and how what you hope to fulfill it with it, and of course how that's been put on hold a bit under COVID. The question we have from the audience here is Drew Miles asks, what has been your most memorable moment of the creation of Fruishun Press?
I think it was, it speaks to kind of like I guess the name of Fruishun, because when I kind of look back at it, and I always talk about this with my friends, but the most pivotal moment was realizing that the things that I did speak that I wanted to kind of like bring to fruition in a cliche way was something that I look back on and just realized that I've created a space that I can continuously create. And so I was actually donated 2 big exposure units this past summer. So that was a really, really pivotal moment for me. And I remember speaking with like my friend a few years back, and I was just like, you know, I need these screens, you know, I gotta keep, you know, continuing to like, you know, print. And when I sit back, I realized that I was blessed to receive about 50 screens that was donated to me to my studio from a local print shop in New York. So, and then I think I was sitting on my couch, and I remember my friend was going to SVA, and he was telling me, just come by and you can get these screens at the end of the semester because people leave them, you know, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll do that. And then a few years later, like these actual screens that I was donated had it, like I was sitting on my couch one day and I saw SVA, and I'm like, wow, like that was such a pivotal moment for me, is getting the machinery and the materials I needed for my studio. So there's always hope. Just continue to, you know, to strive for, you know, the best in your career. And I think that things come into fruition on brand.
Yeah, that sounds like a sign if I've ever heard of one. We have a question from Tanikia Word, your founding founder of Black Women of Print. How has historical eras, specifically the 70s and through the 90s, Black aesthetics influenced your praxis?
So I was at one point in, I guess earlier in my career, I was so enamored with just refinding these images of like Black women in magazines. And I started exploring. So I went kind of like a rabbit hole of just finding more and more and more references. And I think that just knowing that that existed before was something that I wanted to kind of create my spin on in the future. So it very much landed a hand to what I was trying to speak in my work at the time. So, you know, the idea of identity, finding your identity, and then sharing your identity, and seeing that these beautiful women were on these magazine covers, and these beautiful women were highlighted so much in history that maybe I wasn't even aware of as much as, you know, I thought I was. And just to re-explore and to see those things, I knew that it spoke to my journey and being okay with my identity and being a Black woman and how I looked in my hair, and lending a hand to my overall narrative. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, I think so. We just have a couple minutes left, so I want to talk about an article that was written about the entire group of the Black Women of Print in Pressing Matters. And you specifically in that article talk about, this was in April of 2019. It was free, and you can download it for free on their website. I could go ahead and pop it up on the screen, Angela, if you would stop sharing your screen. But it's a really...
You're on mute, I think.
Sorry, it's a... now, of course, I can't find it. Let's see, maybe if I do this. Okay, so this is the article, and we have kind of profiles of all the Black women of print, and you say specifically, and I'm probably giving people vertigo scrolling through it, but I encourage you to read the article. You say...
I think you're...
I have to unmute myself permanently here. You say that you're interested in art being a vocalization of, you know, creating a domino effect that inspires the masses. And I wondered if you could speak a little more about that idea.
You can hear me? Okay.
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you repeat the question?
In the article, you say, I think the more vocal society can be through art, it will create a domino effect that inspires the masses in politics, environmental issues, and individuality, to name a few. And I wondered if you could speak more to how that idea influences your practice.
So I think that, you know, in society now, we're seeing the, I guess, the strength of what art can do, and in these art communities can do. When you have folks who I see personally in my art arena, that especially here and on social media, but being connected to others who would like to express themselves in the way that they want to express themselves is so important. And whether they're doing that through their art or they're, you know, out on the streets and they're protesting, I think that lends a hand to speaking your truth. And I felt like I had a connection to that, just that aspect of just speaking my truth and just making sure that I was establishing that I'm here and that I am important as well, and my work is important. And I want to be able to inspire folks who look at my work and to recreate more of that, to be open to exploring a lot of the dynamics of, you know, identity and how important it is for you to kind of show up. And that's why I create so many portraits of people that I'm inspired by, whether it's my mom or, you know, it's something that I've seen and referenced. I think it's so important to do that and then see how you plant that seed and it kind of like grows and it gets bigger and it makes other folks, again, inspired to do that as well. So you'll continue to see a lot of exploration of identity and narrative in my work from my point of view. You know, I can't speak for others, but I know that what I've spoken has been well received by other folks that feel the same. So it kind of creates some type of connection. So I hope that answered your question.
Yes, thanks. We have one final question from the audience. Robin Holder asks, who also spoke for us in September, but who is not a member of your group. She asks, do you develop your images in another media and then print them, or do you develop the image in process?
So I illustrate my work. So yes, so I would say yes. I illustrate my work first and then I transcribe them through screen printing. So they all start as an illustration. And then I color separate. And I was doing color separation actually by hand before I actually knew how to color separate in Photoshop. Yes, and whether it's drawing on positives, on transparencies to burn onto screens. Yes, I just want to say long-winded answer, yes.
All right, well, thank you so much, Angela. I just want to point out that the Black Women of Print as an entirety has group curated or group juried the upcoming New Prints 2021 Winter Exhibition, which will be on view at the International Print Center, New York, from January 27th through April 3rd of 2021. And there will be a online component as well for those of you who can't make it to the studio. So I encourage everyone to look out for that. IPCNY just announced today on their social media all of the artists that have been selected in the exhibition, and we really look forward to seeing what you all chose. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic exhibition. So thanks to all who joined us this evening, and special thanks to Angela for sharing her practice and being so generous with us this evening, talking about your journey as an artist. And we all look forward to seeing where it takes you in the future. Learn more about Angela, as you saw on her social media or website, and we hope you will join us for the next online talk in our Black Women of Print speaker series with Latoya Hobbs on Thursday, January 28th at 5 p.m. To be informed of the details of our talks, please join our mailing list, which you can do on our website, manhattangraphiccenter.org, or follow us on Facebook or Instagram at Manhattan Graphic Center. Have a great night.
Thank you.